You wake up every morning and you've got two choice: wait for someone to hand you the life you want, or realize no one's ever going to do it for you. And once that clicks, everything changes, because here's the raw truth. No one is coming to save you, not your paraboss, not your friends, not your partner, not some secret investor, well, not some miracle mentor, not even the motivational speaker you've got playing in the background while you scroll Instagram. The cavalry isn't coming. The rescue mission was never planned. And the sooner you stop waiting for it, the sooner you'll start building the life you actually want. See, most people live in fantasy mode. They walk around carrying this silent hope that anyone, will see how hard their life is, how much potential they have, well, how unlucky they've been, and then come swooping in with a solution. But guess what? That magical moment doesn't exist. Waiting to be saved is just a dressed up version of procrastination. It's giving up responsibility but hoping for the rewards. It's standing still while expecting forward motion. That's not how life works. Not in business, not in relationships, not in anything that actually matters. Now let me be clear. This isn't about being harsh. It's about being honest. And honesty, especially the kind you tell yourself, is the most powerful tool you'll ever use. When you finally say to yourself, I'm the only one responsible for my future, you don't feel weaker, you feel stronger. You stop being a victim of your situation and start becoming the architect of it. You begin to move different. You speak, you think different. People who are waiting to be saved, they make decisions from fear. People who know one's coming, they make decisions from purpose. One blames the system, the other builds a system. One waits for opportunities, the other creates them. Now let's take it deeper. Why is it a good thing that no one's coming to save you? Because it means you hold the power. No middle, no gatekeeper, no approval needed. You don't have to wait for a raise. You don't need a perfect economy. You don't need your friends to believe in your idea before you act on it. The responsibility is yours. But so is the freedom. And if you mess up, well, great. That's feedback. That's how you get better. You learn, you adjust, and you try again. No begging for a second chance. No waiting for someone to pick you back up. You fall, you stand on your own. That strength most people will never know because they're too busy outsourcing their confidence to someone else's validation. Look around you. Think of the people who are really making moves. The ones who seem unshakable. They've all had moments where they realized nobody was coming. And they use that realization to fuel themselves, not to fold. Because when you accept that no one's coming, you stop waiting and you start moving. You start the side hustle. You learn the skill. You ditch the toxic friends. You fix your finances. You stop tolerating average because you know the only way to rise is to build your own ladder. Let's put it plainly. If you're not happy with where you are, financially, mentally, physically, you've got two options. You can keep scrolling, keep waiting, keep hoping something will change it, or you can look in the mirror and say, it's on me. Once you do that, the excuses start to fade. You stop needing permission. You stop complaining about things you could fix. You realize complaining doesn't change your situation, but action does. And here's something no one tells you. Well, when you take full ownership of your life, people start treating you different. Opportunities start showing up. Not because the universe got lucky, the killer. Well, but because you're finally showing up like the person who deserves them. You'll find that you stop envying others because you're too busy building your own thing. You stop waiting for motivation because your mission is bigger than your mood. You stop fearing rejection. Well, because you're not asking to be saved. You're focused on creating your own way out. And the best part, once you start doing this, you'll never go back because nothing, and I mean nothing, beats the feeling of knowing you made something happen through sheer determination, not dependency. You built it, you earned it, you own it. Let's get one thing straight, tea comfort's good, but it gets you nowhere. It's that soft bed that makes you snooze your alarm 5 times. It's that average job you've been holding on to 3 years too long because it's safe. It's the Netflix binge that replaces your goals. It's the voice in your head that says, take it easy. You can always start tomorrow. That voice, that's your enemy. Well, because comfort isn't just slowing you down, it's silently destroying your potential. Think about the most successful people you admire, the ones living life on their terms, not stuck in a loop. They didn't there by choosing what felt nice. They got there by doing what was necessary, especially when it was uncomfortable. They embraced the pain, the boredom, the risk, the stretch because they knew that comfort was a trap. See, comfort is sneaky. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you you've earned a break. Even though you haven't moved an inch, it tells you you're not ready yet. When in reality, you've just been scared to start. It convinces you to trade your dreams for dopamine, a scroll, a snack, a nap, a distraction. And the worst part, comfort feels productive. You say things like, I'm thinking it through, I'm not rushing it, or I'm just being patient. But patience without progress is procrastination in disguise. And procrastination, fueled by comfort, is a thief that robs you in silence. It takes your time, your momentum, your edge, one day at a time, one excuse at a time, until you look up and realize a year's passed and nothing's changed. You want to start a business. It's going to be uncomfortable. You want to get fit. You're going to sweat, ache, and want to quit. You want to build wealth. You're going to face decisions, mistakes, and uncertainty. But the people who win, the ones who actually reach their goals, they understand something the rest don't eat. Comfort and growth can't live in the same house. You have to pick one. And let's not sugarcoat it. Discomfort is hard. It means showing up tired. It means saying no to things that feel good now so you can have things that feel great later. It means pushing through rejection, embarrassment, setbacks, and silence. But guess what? That's where the gold is. It's where the lessons are. It's where confidence is built. Well, it's where skill is sharpened. It's where resilience gets formed. Every time you choose discomfort, going to the gym when you'd rather sleep, well, working on your side hustle instead of scrolling TikTok, saying no to a night out so you can learn a new skill, you're teaching yourself something powerful, that you can do hard things. And once your brain knows that, you become unstoppable because you're no longer living by feelings, you're living by purpose. Here's what most people do. They try to avoid pain, boredom. They avoid awkwardness. They avoid failure. They avoid criticism. And in doing so, they also avoid greatness. Well, they stay where it's familiar. They keep repeating the same cycles. They tell themselves they're being realistic when really they're just scared of the discomfort that comes with changing. They live in a cage made of comfort and the door is wide open. But the people who break out, they're not superhuman. They just stopped letting comfort dictate their lives. They stopped asking, what feels good right now? And started asking, what gets me closer to where I want to be? And that's a question most people are afraid to answer honestly. Because if they did, they'd realize that almost everything they're doing is designed to avoid discomfort instead of chasing growth. They say they want success, but they're not willing to face silence. Well, they say they want more money, but they're not willing to take a risk. They say they want more freedom, but they're glued to habits that guarantee mediocrity. You can't have it both ways. Comfort is the slow death of ambition. It seduces you into settling. It convinces you that average is acceptable. It numbs your hunger, and it does it gently, without resistance, so you don't even notice what you've lost until it's too late. So if you want more, if you want freedom, confidence, income, self-respect, then you've got to be willing to break up with comfort. You've got to get familiar with pressure, with awkwardness, with uncertainty, well, with doing things when you don't feel like it. Because the truth is, the version of you that has everything you want, that version doesn't live in comfort. That version lives on the other side of it. Most people are chasing motivation like it's a magic key. They wait for that burst of energy, that perfect quote, that right moment, when everything just feels right. And until that moment comes, they stay stuck. They don't start the business. They don't go to the gym. They don't fix their finances. They just wait. And they call it being patient or waiting for inspiration. But here's the reality checker. Motivation is overrated. It's nice when it shows up, but it's flaky, unreliable, emotional. It's like that one friend who hypes you up, but always cancels last minute. That's motivation. Shows up strong in the morning, disappears by lunch. One bad comment, one tough moment, and suddenly motivation is out the door. So stop depending on it. Because if you only take action when you feel like it, your goals will always be controlled by your mood. Now let's talk about what actually moves the needly discipline. Discipline doesn't care about your feelings. Well, it doesn't need hype music, doesn't need perfect weather. It doesn't ask for permission. Discipline gets up early, even when you didn't sleep well. It opens the laptop when your brain says, just relax today. It eats clean when everyone else is ordering junk. It keeps promises, especially the ones you make to yourself. Well, and here's the truth. No one likes to hang if you're not where you want to be. Not be. It's not you're not motivated. It's because you haven't built discipline. That's what separates the average from the exceptional. Not talent, not motivation, discipline. Look at the people who've achieved what you want. The six-figure earners, the athletes, the entrepreneurs. You think wake up excited every single day. You think they always feel fired up to work, train, or hustle. No, they don't. But they show up anyway. That's the game. Because when you rely on discipline instead of motivation, you take control. You stop being a slave to your emotions. You stop waiting for the right mindset and start creating the right results. And don't confuse discipline with perfection. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent, because that's where discipline lies, in daily decisions, not grand gestures. Every time you do the thing you don't feel like doing, you're casting a vote for the future version of yourself. Every time you follow through, you're building proof that you're reliable, focused, and locked in. That's the stuff real confidence is built on. Not from reading books, not from watching motivational videos, but from showing up and doing what needs to be done when you least feel like doing it. Want to feel more motivated? Then stop trying to feel motivated and start acting like the person who already has what you want. That means doing the work. No drama, no delay. Just action. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your discipline. Let's say you want to build a business. On day one, you're fired up. You've got ideas, energy, even a vision board. Day two, you're still feeling good. Day five, reality kicks in. It's not fun anymore. The results are slow. And guess what happens? Motivation disappears. And this is where most people quit. But the people who don't, the ones who push through that dip, they do it on discipline. They show up even when it sucks, even when no one claps, even when the growth is invisible, because they know motivation is a spark, but discipline is the engine. Same goes for your body. Well, you can watch all the transformation videos you want, but unless you're putting in reps when it's raining, when you're tired, when no one's watching, it's just entertainment. Discipline turns theory into results. And here's what happens when you practice discipline long enough, it becomes identity. You stop saying, I'm trying to be consistent. And you start saying, I don't miss. You stop saying, I need to be more focused. And you start living like a focused person. Well, because it's no longer something you're chasing. It's just who you are. Motivation is hype. Discipline is identity. And the beauty of discipline is it doesn't wait for external validation. You don't need someone to clap for you. You don't need applause. You just need a plan and the grit to stick to it. You stop operating based on how you feel and start executing based on what you decided. That's how progress is made. That's how goals get crushed. That's how average becomes excellence. We live in a world obsessed with timelines. By 25, you should have your degree. By 30, you should own a house. By 35, you should be settled. And if you're not, you feel like a failure. You're behind, like you missed the train and now you're stuck playing catch up while everyone else speeds ahead. But here's the truth. Well, you're not behind, you're building. And there's a massive difference. See, most people waste so much energy comparing their path to someone else's highlight reel. Well, they see someone on Instagram making six figures and feel like they've failed because they're still working a job they hate. They scroll through engagement posts and feel lonely because they're not in a relationship. They watch people buying cars, launching brands, investing in real estate, and suddenly their own progress feels microscopic. But here's what they don't see: the debt, the anxiety, the late nights, the 10 failed attempts before the first win, the stuff that never makes it to social media. You only see the results, you don't see the process. And it's the process that matters. Because if you're in the process, if you're learning, working, experimenting, failing, showing up, staying hungry, you are not behind, you are building something real. Let's make this practical. Say you're 28 and still trying to figure out what business to start. You feel like everyone else already has it together. But what you don't see is that many of those people don't have it together. They're just better at pretending. Some are drowning in credit card debt just to keep up the image. Some are stuck in jobs they hate just to afford the life they don't even want. Some got early success but have no idea how to sustain it. So don't let the noise distract you from your mission. Your journey is yours. It's not supposed to look like anyone else's. Well, you're not here to race strangers. You're here to build something that lasts. And Building takes time. You don't pour the foundation of a skyscraper in a weekend. You don't master a skill by watching YouTube videos for a week. You don't gain financial freedom by reading one finance book. Real growth isn't sexy. It's boring. Well, it's repetitive. It's invisible until it's not. People will start to notice your success when it's loud, but they'll never see the quiet years you spent laying bricks. And that's fine. Let them notice later. Your job right now is to keep building, one decision, one discipline, one sacrifice at a time. Here's another trap to avoiding. Well, thinking that you should have started earlier. That mindset will ruin your focus. You'll sit there beating yourself up about what you didn't do at 18 or 21 or 25. Instead of using your energy to make moves now. Regret is a waste of power. You weren't late, you were learning, and every setback you've had up until now, that was part of your construction. Builders don't panic when progress is slow. They don't tear down the walls just because it's not finished yet. They trust the blueprint. Well, and you need to do the same. Ask yourself this: are you moving forward? Are you learning? Are you showing up even when it sucks? Are you making decisions that your future self will thank you for? If the answer is yes, then you're not behind. You're right where you need to be. Building takes patience. It takes delayed gratification. It takes ignoring what everyone else is doing so you can focus on doing what actually matters. That means cutting distractions, tightening your circle, managing your time like it's money, and playing the long game even when the short game looks more appealing. And make no mistake, the short game will always try to seduce you. Quick money, quick results, quick validation. But fast success is usually fragile. You want something strong, something unshakable. You've got to be okay with slow, because slow progress is still progress. And as long as you're consistent, it compounds. The people who look like they made it overnight, most of them didn't. Well, they just didn't quit during the quiet phase. They kept building when no one clapped, when no one watched, when no one understood what they were doing. Right? Well, that's what separates the winners from the wishers. So the next time you feel like you're falling behind, zoom out. The wealth killer, right? Well, don't look at where you're not. Look what you're building. Look at the habits you're forming, the skills you're developing, the character you're shaping. Well, those are the invisible foundations of a life that's going to look very different a year from now. Let's cut the fluff. Excuses are easy. Results are hard. But only one of them puts food on the table. You can have every reason in the world why something is difficult. Well, why the timing isn't right, why your background held you back, why you didn't get the same opportunities as someone else. But here's the raw true thing. Well, none of those excuses will pay your rent, stack your bank account, or build your dream life. The bills don't care about how tired you are. Well, your landlord doesn't accept "I wasn't motivated" as a form of payment. The world doesn't slow down just because you had a rough week. It's harsh, but it's honest. And if you really want to win in business, in life, in anything, you've got to get brutally honest with yourself too, because excuses are addictive. They feel good. They protect your ego, let you stay comfortable. They give you permission to do nothing and still feel okay about it. But here's the catch: every time you make an excuse, you trade long-term progress for short-term relief. You protect your pride, but you sacrifice your potential. And that trade adds up. One excuse here, one excuse there, and suddenly a year's gone by and you're in the same exact spot. People say, "I don't have time," but they spend hours scrolling on social media. They say, "Well, I don't have the energy," but they've got energy for Netflix. They say, "I'm not ready," but they've been getting ready for 5 years. At some point, it's not about time or energy or readiness. It's about priorities. You either make progress or you make excuses. You can't do both. Excuses are comforting because they let you avoid responsibility. If something doesn't work out, you've already got built-in reason, right? Well, I was too busy. I had other stuff going on. It just wasn't the right time. But responsibility, that's where the power is. Well, when you own your results, even the bad ones, you unlock the ability to change them. When you stop blaming other people, other circumstances, or bad luck, you start focusing on what you control. And that's where transformation happens. Look around. The most successful people you know didn't get there waiting for perfect conditions. They didn't get there by making excuses. They got there by doing the work, especially when it was inconvenient. They had every reason to quit, just like you. They had bad days, just like you. They faced rejection, doubt, fear, just like you. But the difference, they pushed through it, not because it was easy, but because they understood this: excuses don't build empires. Let's say your goal is to make more money. That's a smart goal. But if every time you sit down to work on your side hustle, your brain starts listing reasons why now isn't the time, that's when you have to step in and say, whoa, not today. My excuses don't pay the bills. It doesn't matter if you're tired, work tired. It doesn't matter if you're overwhelmed. Start small. It doesn't matter if no one believes in you. Believe in yourself enough to take the first step anyway. If you're waiting for a perfect window of time where everything lines up, good luck. That window doesn't exist. And even if it did, someone else would already be using it to get ahead of you. You've got to learn to move in spite of the excuses, not after them. You've got to train your mind to recognize excuses for what they are, lies your comfort zone tells you to keep you from growing. Every excuse you shut down is a win. Every time you show up anyway, you're building discipline. And every time you act instead of rationalize, well, you're moving closer to your goals while everyone else is still talking about them. Excuses sound like, oh, start next week. It's not the right time. I don't know enough yet. What if I fail? I'm too tired after work. But your bills don't care about any of that. Your goals don't care either. The world rewards execution, not explanation. You either find a way or you find a reason, and nobody's handing out medals for having the best excuse. Oh, you want freedom, you want security. You want to walk into a store and not check the price tags. That life doesn't come from excuses. It comes from doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. And when you really understand that your dreams are paid for with your decisions, not your reasons, you stop trying to justify your limitations and start finding ways to overcome them. One of the biggest lies people believe is that they have to feel fully prepared before they take action. That there's going to be this magical moment where the stars align, the doubts disappear, and you suddenly feel 100% ready to chase your goals. Let me save you some time. That moment doesn't exist. You're never going to feel totally ready to start the business. You're never going to feel totally ready to quit the job you hate. You're never going to feel totally ready to put yourself out there, take a risk, or do something you've never done before. And that's completely normal, because real growth always comes with a side of fear, doubt, and hesitation. It's part of the package. If you feel nervous, uncertain, or overwhelmed, that means you're not broken. It means you're human. But here's where most people go wrong. They wait for those feelings to disappear before they take action. They tell themselves things like, I'll start when I feel more confident. I'll launch when I know everything. I'll move forward when the timing is better. And so they wait and wait and wait. Weeks go by, then months, then years, and nothing changes, because what they're really waiting for is permission. Permission from their emotions, permission from other people, permission from the universe to say, now is the time. But the truth is, no one's coming to tap you on the shoulder and tell you it's your moment. You create the moment by deciding to move, even when you don't feel ready. Think about it. When you started riding a bike, were you ready? When you walked into your first job interview, were you ready? When you started anything meaningful in your life, did you feel 100% equipped? Probably not. You felt awkward, uncertain, maybe even terrified. But you did it anyway. And looking back, that's how you grew. That's how you built confidence. That's how you developed skill, not by waiting, but by starting before you felt ready. The same principle applies to everything you want to achieve now. You want to build a side hustle. Don't wait until you've taken 5 online courses and watched 100 videos. Start now with what you know. You want to invest. Don't wait until you've mastered every financial term in the dictionary. Start small and learn as you go. You want to create content. Don't wait until your setup is perfect. Grab your phone, speak your truth, and hit record. If you wait until you're ready, you'll never do it, because ready is a moving target. You might feel 60% ready today, but tomorrow you'll see someone else doing better, and suddenly your 60% feels like 40%. Then you delay again. And that delay becomes a habit, and that habit kills momentum. Meanwhile, the people who are winning, they don't wait until they feel certain. They act while they're uncertain. They take the first step, then figure out the next one. They launch before they're fully confident. They speak before they're fully polished. They trust that clarity will come from action, not overthinking. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You don't need to have the whole blueprint before you begin laying bricks. The first version will be messy. That's fine. The point is to get started, because motion creates progress and progress creates belief. Most people think confidence comes first, then action. But the truth is, it's the other way around. Action creates confidence. Each time you follow through, you build proof that you're capable. Each time you lean into fear, it loses a bit of power. Each time you take a step, your brain learns, hey, I didn't die. I can do this. Perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. You don't need all the answers right now. You just need to move. Let yourself be a beginner. Let yourself mess up. Let yourself learn while doing. That's how mastery is built, not in theory, but in motion. And understand this, the fear of starting is always bigger than the reality of doing. Your mind will exaggerate every possible failure, every potential embarrassment, every tiny risk. But once you take that step, you realize most of it was noise. You don't need permission to start. You don't need approval. You don't need perfection. You just need to stop waiting for 100% readiness and start doing what you can with the 60% you've got. Because the gap between who you are and who you want to be isn't closed by thinking, it's closed by doing.